The sky cracked open with fire. The Celestian Armada descended like a swarm of silver blades, their ships sleek and merciless, blotting out the sun. Their voice boomed from the heavens, faceless, omnipotent. *, kneel and you will be spared. Resist and your cities will burn. *, Earth's defenses lasted 6 hours. Missiles detonated harmlessly against shimmering shields. Fighter squadrons evaporated under golden lances of light. By dawn, the planet surrendered. The occupation was swift. The Celestians strode through the streets, towering figures clad in iridescent armor, their faces hidden behind smooth, featureless masks. They demanded tribute, food, resources, art, children. Those who resisted were made examples of. A single touch from their energy whips reduced flesh to ash. 𝗕𝗲, an engineer, survived by keeping his head down. He repaired their drones, calibrated their systems, and said nothing when they took his neighbors away. But his hands moved with quiet rebellion. Every adjustment, every tweak, a chance to study their technology. He noticed things. Their shields flickered during solar flares. Their warriors, though seemingly invincible, retreated when their regeneration pods were damaged. Then came the rumor, whispered in the dark, passed between prisoners and rebels. The 𝗕𝗲𝘀, a ship, human-made, built from stolen Celestian tech. A ghost in the void. 𝗕𝗲's fingers itched. He copied data, schematics, anything he could smuggle out. But the Celestians were watching. He was caught. A masked overseer loomed over him, whip humming to life. 𝗕𝗲 braced for death. Then darkness. He woke in a dimly lit bunker, his ribs aching. A woman with scarred lips smirked down at him. "Welcome to the 𝗕𝗲𝘀, she said. "Hope you're ready to kill some gods." The 𝗕𝗲𝘀 wasn't a ship, it was a scar. A jagged, asymmetrical beast of bolted armor and stolen Celestian tech. Its hull a patchwork of human desperation. 𝗕𝗲 ran his fingers along the bulkhead, feeling the hum of engines that shouldn't work, guns that shouldn't fire. Captain 𝗕, a grizzled veteran with eyes like flint, didn't bother with speeches. "We hit their patrol near Town 9. They think we're rats hiding in the dark. Today we bite back." 𝗲𝗏, the former slave who dragged 𝗕𝗲 from execution, leaned over the tactical display. Her fingers traced Celestian formations with cold familiarity. They always dodge left when you fake a reactor overload. Pride makes them predictable. The ambush was a suicide run, on paper. The 𝗕𝗲𝘀 lurked in the debris field of a dead colony, engines cold, weapons silent. When the Celestian patrol glided into range, 𝗕 didn't hesitate. Now! The ship roared to life. 𝗕𝗲's stolen data became a weapon. He'd rewired the 𝗕𝗲𝘀's guns to mimic Celestian shield harmonics, just for a split second. Long enough. The first plasma volley punched through their defenses like glass. A Celestian frigate cracked open, spilling fire and silent screams into the void. The second ship panicked, veered left. 𝗲𝗏's lips curled. "Told you." The 𝗕𝗲𝘀's railguns finished the job. Back in the mess hall, the crew cheered. 𝗕𝗲 stared at his hands. They'd done the impossible, killed gods. 𝗕 clapped him on the shoulder. "Save the shock. We're just getting started." That night, 𝗕 hijacked the Celestian comm network. Every occupied world heard his voice. "You're not divine. You bleed, and we're coming for the rest of you." The response was immediate. Celestian High Command's order flashed across every screen in the galaxy. *, burn their home world. Let the 𝗕𝗲𝘀 watch. *, 𝗕𝗲 looked up as the FDL alarms wailed. Earth's distress signal blared through the speakers. 𝗕's knuckles whitened on the command chair. "Turn us around." Full speed. The 𝗕𝗲𝘀 tore through the void, engines screaming, hull groaning under the strain. Earth hung in the distance, a blue-green jewel swarmed by Celestian warships. The flagship Divine Retribution loomed above the planet like an executioner's axe, its 20-kilometer frame bristling with weapon ports. 𝗕's voice cut through the bridge's tension. 𝗲𝗏, give me a weakness." She was already scanning, fingers flying over stolen Celestian tech. Their ships share a power grid, like neurons in a brain. Take out the flagship, the rest might cascade. "Might," 𝗕𝗲 muttered. 𝗲𝗏 didn't look up. Only one way to find out. The 𝗕𝗔 dove into the storm. Celestian fighters streaked toward them. 𝗕 banked hard, using Earth's debris field as cover. A graveyard of dead satellites and shattered defense platforms became their shield. Plasma fire lit the darkness as the 𝗕𝗔 returned fire, its stolen guns punching holes in golden hulls. 𝗕𝗲 monitored the power grid, watching the Celestian energy signatures flicker. Their networks vulnerable during solar flare interference, but we need to get inside their firing range to exploit it. 𝗕's jaw tightened. Then we bait them. The 𝗕𝗔 feigned retreat, drifting toward the sun's corona. The Celestians followed, arrogant in their pursuit. Heat warnings blared as the ship's shields flickered. Now! 𝗕 barked. 𝗕𝗲 rerouted all power to the engines. The 𝗕𝗔 spun, lancing back toward the divine retribution like a dagger. Vera's hands flew over the controls. I can override their reactor safeties, but someone needs to get close enough to trigger the overload. Silence. Then she stood. I'll take the drone. 𝗕's protest died in his throat. Vera was already moving. No time to argue. The Celestians didn't see the small, fast-moving craft until it was too late. Vera's voice crackled over the comms as she guided it straight into the flagship's core. Tell Earth I. The explosion drowned her out. A chain reaction tore through the Celestian fleet. Ships detonated in sequence, their shared power grid turning against them. The divine retribution split apart, its golden hull rupturing in a silent inferno. The 𝗕𝗔 limped away, battered but alive. 𝗕𝗲 pulled a data core from the wreckage, coordinates blinking on its display. 𝗕 stared at the screen. That's not a fleet position. 𝗕𝗲's voice was quiet. It's their home. The jump to 𝗕𝗲 Prime left the 𝗕𝗔 shuddering, its hull streaked with burns and its oxygen levels dipping into the red. When the stars resolved, they didn't see a gleaming empire. They saw a graveyard. The planet hung in the grip of a dying sun, its once gilded cities cracked under a sickly orange sky. The Celestian ships orbiting it were skeletal, their hulls patched with desperation. 𝗕 exhaled slowly. Gods don't live like this. 𝗕𝗲 parsed the stolen data. They weren't conquerors. They were refugees. Their star went critical decades ago. They needed new worlds, so they made themselves divine to take them. The comms crackled. A voice, stripped of its former grandeur, echoed through the bridge. Human vessel, you stand before the last throne of Celestia. Submit or be erased. 𝗕 activated the broadcast. We saw your fleets burn. We watched your lies unravel. You don't get to demand anything anymore. Silence. Then chaos. Celestia Prime's surface erupted in riots. The oppressed lower castes, finally realizing their so-called gods were mortal, turned on the ruling oligarchs. Transmission feeds showed golden masks torn away, revealing faces as hollow and starred as any human slave. The 𝗕𝗔 descended. No orbital bombardment. No vengeance strikes. Instead, 𝗕 opened a channel to the entire planet. We could glass your cities. We could leave you to your dying sun. But we won't. 𝗕𝗲 frowned. After everything they did? 𝗕's gaze didn't waver. Because of everything they did. The terms were simple. Celestia's leaders would stand trial. Their tech would be shared. Their surviving ships would be dismantled. In return, humanity would help evacuate the civilians. A Celestian child, watching from the ruins of a temple, picked up a broken energy whip, then threw it into the fires. As the 𝗕𝗔 prepared to leave, a final transmission came through, not from the rulers, but from a group of former slaves. You had the power to destroy us. Why show mercy? 𝗕 glanced at 𝗕𝗲, then Vera's empty chair. Because that's the difference between gods, he said, and people. The jump drive flared. Behind them, Celestia Prime burned. Ahead, the stars waited. The 𝗕𝗔 emerged from FTL with its hull groaning in protest, its system still bleeding from the wounds of war. Before them stretched the remnants of Celestian outer colonies. Not the glittering fortresses they expected, but broken worlds held together by desperation and fading technology. 𝗕 studied the tactical display. They're collapsing faster than we predicted. 𝗕𝗲 monitored the energy signatures flickering across the scanners. Without their central power grid, Their systems are failing. These people aren't warriors, they're starving. A distress signal cut through the static. A Celestian transport, its engine sputtering, life support failing. The visual feed showed crowded decks. Civilians packed shoulder to shoulder, their golden armor traded for ragged survival suits. Vera's replacement, a young tech named Jax, looked up. They're asking for aid. The bridge crew tensed. Memories of burning cities and vaporized outposts hung heavy in the air. Rin's fingers tightened around a command chair. Open a channel. The face that appeared on screen wasn't a conqueror's. Deep lines of exhaustion framed eyes that had seen too much. "We have children aboard," the Celestian said, the words slow with shame. 𝗕𝗲 expected hesitation. Instead, Rin stood. "Prepare medical teams. Transfer non-essential rations to Hangar 3. As the crew scrambled to obey, Jax pulled 𝗕𝗲 aside. "After everything they did to us?" 𝗕𝗲 watched the transport's failing thrusters struggle to maintain orbit. "We spent years proving we could break them. Now we get to decide what comes after." The docking sequence was tense. Human medics in hazard suits moved cautiously through the Celestian ship, distributing supplies to gaunt-faced survivors. A child clutched a medic sleeve, their once pristine golden skin now dull with malnutrition. Rin observed from a bridge as the last transport pod departed. Set course for the Sol system. Time to go home. Behind them, the Celestian vessel's lights flickered back to life, powered by human generosity rather than stolen resources. 𝗕𝗲 looked at the star charts, at the fragile peace they bought with mercy instead of missiles. The war was over. The future was just beginning. The Aegis returned to Earth as a ghost of its former self, its hull pockmarked with battle scars, its corridors echoing with the absence of fallen crew. The orbital docks swarmed with activity as the first human-built warships, designed from stolen Celestian schematics, took shape in the shipyards. Rin stood at the observation deck, watching the skeletal frames of new vessels take form. "They'll call this a golden age," he muttered. 𝗕𝗲 joined him, datapad in hand, displaying reports from former Celestian territories. 11 systems have petitioned to join the Earth Coalition, 𝗕𝗲 said. "They're offering technology exchanges for protection guarantees." The irony hung between them. Former slaves now seeking alliance with their liberators. The comm alert shattered the moment. A priority transmission from the outer rim, garbled, frantic. 𝗕𝗲's blood ran cold as he decrypted the signal. It's a Celestian distress call, but not like any we've heard before. The visual feed showed a research station under attack, not by humans, but by something else. Dark, shifting shapes moved through corridors, their forms blurring at the edges. The last clear image froze on screen, a Celestian scientist screaming as his body dissolved into black tendrils. Rin's command snapped across the bridge. "Battle stations. Recall all off-duty personnel." The Aegis shuddered as its engines powered up, still wounded but ready to fight again. 𝗕𝗲 analyzed the energy signatures. "This isn't any technology we've seen. The readings match nothing." His hands trembled as he enhanced the scan. "It's consuming their station at the molecular level." As the Aegis prepared for its final jump, Earth's defense grid activated for the first time since the war. The sight should have been comforting. Humanity united, prepared. Instead, the glowing weapons platforms only emphasized how small they still were against the unknown. Rin addressed the crew one last time. "We proved we could defeat tyrants who call themselves gods." His eyes locked with 𝗕𝗲's. "Now let's see what real monsters look like." The jump drive engaged, hurling them toward the dark edge of explored space, toward something that had been waiting in the void long before Celestians ever dreamed of empire. The Aegis materialized in a dead system, its arrival disturbing the cosmic dust like a stone dropped in still water. Before them, the research station hung in broken silence, its hull breached in perfect geometric patterns that made 𝗕𝗲's skin crawl. "Scanning." Jax's voice wavered as the sensors struggled to interpret the data. No life signs, no energy signatures, just absence where there should be matter. Rin gripped the command console. Full tactical alert. Weapons hot. The first boarding team found the station cold and airless, their boots magnetized to the deck plating. Flashlights cut through the darkness, revealing walls that shimmered unnaturally where they'd been cut open, not torn or melted, but unmade. 𝗕𝗲 adjusted his scanner. The molecular bonds here were selectively disassembled. This isn't weapon damage, it's deconstruction. A noise echoed through the empty corridors. Not metal groaning, not systems failing. Something wet and shifting, like flesh moving against itself in the dark. The team rounded a corner and froze. Before them stretched a massive chamber where the station's core should have been. In its place floated a shifting mass of black filaments, pulsing gently as if breathing. The remains of Celestian scientists drifted suspended throughout the web, their bodies half dissolved into the structure. One of the filaments twitched toward them. Fall back. 𝗕𝗲's order came too late. The thing moved faster than anything organic should. It speared through 𝗦𝗫's chest plate before he could scream, his body unraveling into strands that joined the growing mass. Plasma fire had no effect. The energy was absorbed, converted. 𝗕𝗲 grabbed Jax and ran as the station began collapsing around them. Behind, the thing was learning, adapting, growing. They barely made it back to the shuttle. As the Aegis opened fire on the station, 𝗕𝗲 watched through the viewport. The explosion should have vaporized everything. Instead, the dark mass coalesced in the vacuum, forming something disturbingly symmetrical before vanishing faster than their sensors could track. 𝗕𝗲's voice was gravel. Set course for Earth. Maximum speed. 𝗕𝗲 stared at his shaking hands. They'd won a war against false gods. Now something infinitely older had noticed them. Earth's defense grid activated as the Aegis limped into the Sol system. Its hull scorched from encounters no human ship was meant to survive. The transmission from 𝗕𝗲's cracked data pad echoed through the war room. Asterisk, they don't just kill. They consume. And they're learning. Asterisk, Admiral 𝗕𝗲 studied the distorted footage from the dead station. Her coffee forgotten and cold. You're telling me we traded one extinction event for another? 𝗕𝗲 leaned against the tactical display, exhaustion carving deep lines into his face. The Celestians weren't conquering worlds. They were running. 𝗕𝗲 projected the last sensor readings. Whatever this is, it's been harvesting civilizations long before the Celestians built their first ship. We found traces of 6 different unknown technologies in its digestion patterns. A young lieutenant cleared his throat. So what do we do? The silence stretched too long. Then the alarm screamed. 5 unknown contacts materialized at the edge of the system. No ships, just perfect black spheres hanging against the stars. The defense platforms opened fire automatically. Plasma bolts vanished into the perfect surfaces without effect. 𝗕𝗲's monitor lit up with frantic warnings. They're adapting to our weapons already. Shut everything down before they... The feed from Pluto station cut out mid-sentence. Then Neptune. Then Uranus. Each blackout preceded by the same transmission, a distorted mimicry of human speech formed from the screams of consumed victims. 𝗕𝗲 activated the global alert system. All ships evacuate immediately. Scatter and... The lights died. For 3 heartbeats, Earth hung silent in the dark. Then every screen on the planet flickered to life simultaneously, displaying the same impossible message in every known language. We see you now. 𝗕𝗲 grabbed 𝗕𝗲's arm as the Aegis emergency power kicked in. Get to engineering. We're taking the fight to them. 𝗕𝗲 didn't ask how. The answer burned in 𝗕𝗲's eyes, the same stubborn defiance that had toppled an empire. Humanity's greatest war had just begun. The Aegis shuddered as emergency power routed to its experimental drive, the one system the invaders hadn't cataloged yet. 𝗕𝗲's fingers flew across the engineering console, bypassing safeties as the ship's frame groaned in protest. 30 seconds of overload, he shouted through the comms. On the bridge, 𝗕𝗲 strapped into command chair, eyes locked on the tactical display. The black spheres had begun moving toward Earth in perfect formation, their paths unhurried, inevitable. Defense platforms fired uselessly before winking out of existence. Jax gripped his console as the deck plates vibrated. This will either work or vaporize half the solar system. 𝗕𝗲 didn't blink. Better odds and surrender. The countdown hit 0. Reality twisted. The Aegis didn't jump. It unfolded, tearing through dimensions in a scream of tortured physics. For one impossible instant, 𝗕𝗲 saw the invaders' true form. Vast, ancient things coiled between the stars, their tendrils buried in 100 dead civilizations. Then impact. The ship rematerialized inside the lead sphere. Alarm shrieked as the hull buckled under forces no human alloy could withstand. Those the invaders were recoiled, their perfect black surface boiling where it touched the Aegis' irradiated hull. Now! Ren triggered the pulse. Stolen Celestian tech merged with human desperation, sent a shockwave through the sphere's core. The containment failed. For the first time, the invaders screamed, a sound that bypassed ears to vibrate directly in the bones of every living thing in the solar system. 𝗕𝗲 watched through cracking viewports as the sphere ruptured, its dark matter spilling into space in writhing ribbons. The other spheres convulsed in sympathy, their perfect geometries distorting. Earth's remaining defense platforms seized the moment, not with weapons, with gravity projectors. The lunar array fired, bending space-time itself to hurl the wounded invaders toward the sun. Silence fell. The Aegis drifted, broken but victorious. 𝗕𝗲 pulled himself from the wreckage of engineering to see stars through the shattered hull. Real stars. Ren's voice crackled over the dying comms. Send the signal. Across the galaxy, hidden ships received the transmission, a burst containing everything they learned, every weakness, every vulnerability. The message was simple. They can be hurt.